Okay, let's talk about Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's latest film after Tenet. This is Christopher Nolan returning back to the big screen. He wants you to see this movie on the biggest screen possible, and I agree. I will tell you why in a bit, but let me tell you about Tenet. Tenet, I got the chance to see when theaters were reopening. Of course, it was limited seating, masked up, all of that. So it's a very different time, I think, than what we see the theaters today, where there is no limited seating and all of that. And I will say, watching this on the big screen was definitely something that needs to be done. Oppenheimer is just that good. But let's get into why exactly I think that. I think that the acting here is something we need to highlight right at the beginning because this was something that everybody was talking about when we first heard about Oppenheimer. There were jokes that Nolan had everybody in Hollywood in this movie, and it was definitely a movie that was going to be just that big, honestly. And I think Cillian Murphy as Robert Oppenheimer, I could not see anybody else playing Oppenheimer besides Cillian Murphy. So I knew a little bit about Oppenheimer's life, about the Los Alamos, the Trinity test, all of that. I didn't really know much about the man's personal life and all of that, which I found interesting was being put in the film, but it very much so was a film that told all of these different perspectives in a way that it made sense by the end of it and culminated in that final shot and final line, which I think is going to be one of the best ones in all of film history. So let's talk about the acting, like I said. Cillian Murphy, of course, Oscars definitely going to be buzzing for sure when it comes to Cillian Murphy. Emily Blunt, another one as well, and also Robert Downey Jr. I think Emily Blunt here played such a very interesting and complicated character of Kitty, and I really did feel a lot in these emotional scenes between Oppenheimer and Kitty as well, and I was really much so moved by Emily Blunt's performance here. Very subtle at times, almost at times also just pouring out all of the emotions that she was feeling, and I thought that it was just such a great performance as well. Robert Downey Jr. also played a very good role here and a character that the more you see them unravel, the more you start to see what really is hidden in here. And not just that, but you see the range that Robert Downey Jr. really has. And I think it was all that time we just saw Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man that definitely got me a little bit wondering, is this going to be a good role for Robert Downey Jr.? But it makes you remember Robert Downey Jr. in older movies, especially like Zodiac and all of that, that Robert Downey Jr. has that in him to play these very amazing and complicated characters, which we see in this movie as well. And definitely going to say Oscars are going to be buzzing. When it comes to the direction and all of that, I think Christopher Nolan has directed some of his best work here for sure. I think Christopher Nolan is, as a director, one of my favorites, definitely. And I think that I don't have a Christopher Nolan movie that I hate. There is definitely movies that I don't like as much, but for the most part, after watching Inception, I very much so felt that Christopher Nolan could do nothing wrong, honestly. And he has yet to do that, in my opinion. This is another one of those examples, and I think it is that movie that is going to definitely cement Christopher Nolan, if he isn't already cemented for you, as one of the greatest directors living today and of all time. And the way that everything is sort of put together in this movie, weaving in as well, and the way it unfolds and all of that, it never feels jarring. It never feels like you're taken out of the movie because we jump from one timeline, we jump from one thing to another. It very much so is weaving together because of the narrative and the story, and the script was very good as well. There were moments of dialogue that were just very heavy, but at the same time were very easy to digest, but you still felt everything in those words. And I always wonder when it comes to movies and all of that, you do have to have dialogue that doesn't feel like it's flat or it's very simple, but you also have to have some dialogue that isn't feeling too heavy on the person, where a movie can sometimes have paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs that go on for a scene, and you sort of like dwindle out or snooze out while you're watching it. But here, I think everything had such a good flow to it. It was just the way it was built up as well with the sound mixing. The sound mixing, I think, was great here. The score is definitely huge in your face, and just the way that some of these scenes would play out, it had you on the edge of your seat. And this is just basically watching like a court drama at times. And that was still one of the most higher tension scenes, I think, those court scenes. And speaking on that, I will say that I was very cautious. I was very nervous about how this would be handled, as well as considering that that is one of the worst atrocities in human history, the bombings of Nagasaki as well as Hiroshima, and of course everything that was left at Los Alamos, New Mexico, where they are still feeling those effects of Trinity and all of that today. It is definitely a movie that isn't shy either to talk about politics, to talk about things that were happening at the time, telling the truth about just how horrific all of this was and still is today. I thought that that movie handled it all very well as well, and felt very timely as well with a lot of the things it was talking about, whether it came to talking about unions, talking about war, talking just about how much humanity is going to be destroying in order to, just because of this bigger ego that builds up between leaders and all of that. So I thought that the way that the movie handled all of these issues were great, and I very much enjoy that it wasn't scared to go there and really confront what things really are. So very much so, very good on that part. And I will say that this is definitely a movie to see in IMAX. I got to see it in RPX, which isn't technically IMAX, but it was still a pretty big screen, and everything that happened here was just amazing to see on that big screen, that big sound system as well behind you. In conclusion, I'm just going to say this is my favorite film from Christopher Nolan. I think it is the best film of the year so far. I'm going to say that, and definitely one of the most important films of all time. It tells such a timely story, such an important story as well, and at the same time it has this very, very great cast behind it. It's such an amazing director as Christopher Nolan, and just amazing. Honestly, that's all I can say. Like, honestly, I have no like bad I could say about the film itself. At a 3 hour runtime, it goes by. It really does go by. You don't even feel it, and I definitely do recommend seeing this on the biggest screen possible. We're going to give it 5 stars out of 5, and definitely recommend it to everybody. But let me know what you think about Oppenheimer, if you enjoyed the film or not. If you didn't, that's fine. If you gave it 1 star, that's fine. Let me know why, but I'm giving it 5 stars. So anyways, that's going to do it for me. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers, less than 3,000 to go. So very excited to get to that. And I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive. If you're still watching, really appreciate you making it all the way to the end. Make sure you do go and subscribe and comment below. We are currently running a giveaway. All you have to do to enter is just make sure you're subscribed, make sure you comment below. We're about to announce the winner. Once we reach 28,000 subscribers, that's when we're going to announce the winner. So all you have to do is be subscribed to the channel and comment below, and we will announce the winner at 28,000, and we will have another giveaway at 30,000. So make sure you keep subscribing, hitting that notification bell to know when these giveaways are. But really appreciate you, and yeah, as always, stay safe, stay positive.